news was the news said that NDLEA stormed his house. I mean, talking about the Senator Oyelola Ashiru from Kwara State. His house was besieged by the members of NDLEA, and drugs were found.
Yeah.
In his residence.
Yes.
Now the Senate is now saying that Senate President saying injury to one, injury to all. And the senator in question has admitted that truly substances were found in his house.
Yes, he did.
Okay, we'll go into that story and the course of that program. Still looking at the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Supreme Court reserves judgment in 19 state suit challenging constitutionality of EFCC. Others, Anambra, Adamawa, Ebonyi, withdraw. Another one talking about court case now. Court sacks Kano Electoral Commission chairman. Members 4 days to LG poll. Bill seeking creation of 2 states from Oyo State passes second reading in Reps. Page 30 of Nigerian Tribune has that story. PDP crisis deepens as party INEC dragged to court over NEC meeting. And the front page of the Nigerian Tribune is quite loaded this morning. 181 killed, 80 hospitalized. Jigawa governor briefs Tinubu on tanker explosion. So much on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Now taking a look at the Vanguard newspaper, I have this one saying, unending grid collapses threaten survival of businesses. OPS, that is the organized private sector. And there are riders under that call for full privatization of power sector. It hinders economic growth. NECA, frustrating for manufacturers. MAN, mere infrastructure upgrades insufficient. Full privatization needed. Naxima, reduces competitiveness of Nigerian businesses. Asborn, so much said about the incessant grid collapse that we've been having in recent times. FG asked Supreme Court to dismiss suits seeking to declare EFCC illegal. PDP crisis, we have reconciled feuding NWC members. Oyelola. Edo government APC transition committee heading for showdown. Interesting. Labour demands halt to frequent petrol price increase. Others. $0.5 million fuel subsidy bribe. Lawan regains freedom. Page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper has that story. Nigeria requires purposeful leadership, food security for growth. Ex-deputy governors. Nigeria has disappointed Africa. Black race. Obasanjo, former President Olusegun Obasanjo has been in the news in recent times. Baba has been talking almost every day now.
Yeah.
He said this yesterday that Nigeria has disappointed Africa and the black race in general.
He always has a... I will never forget the day General Obasanjo was living in 1979. He delivered a speech. He traced the trajectory of Nigeria from independence. The military interventions, the developments that took place, and the plans that were put in place, and where Nigeria was located that morning of 1st October. And he used that location to project a future.
Now, talking about Baba, he has been known as a letter writer, but I think he's doing more of talking now.
Yes, and he projected that 25 years from that 1st of October, Nigeria should be one of the 10 major powers.
Then, are we still on that track?
We were on an industrial route, steel, petrochemicals, industries. You know, they just blew it.
Okay, looking at the Punch newspaper this morning, Nigeria still borrowing amid high debt costs. IMF, LG autonomy, FG plans sanctions against defaulting state. Naira for crude, Dangote gets NNPCL's first supply. And another one, no improved infrastructure since LP's exit. Ebiseni, okay. The biggest story on the front page of the Punch newspaper says a PDP crisis, anti-Damagon plot thickens as NEC meets Thursday. PDP governors, NWC, BOT members meet. Fresh legal battle continues on NEC meeting. Al Bobrisky spent night in FCID female cell. 250 billion naira debt. Teleco seek NCC approval to stop bank transfer services. That is not a good thing. I mean, telecos are seeking the approval of NCC to stop bank transfer services. That would be a lot of problems for Nigerians.
They are owed 250 billion.
250 billion naira.
So, but that will stop it. They are in business. Look,
But it's going to have a very adverse effect on business transactions.
What about the failure to pay?
And this is what we are saying. We are saying that we've been clamoring for.
It is banks that owe them. These are banks raking in hundreds of billions profit.
But
So
these same banks have been clamoring for cashless policy. And you are owing the people that are providing the service.
platform. You know,
Interesting time in Nigeria.
bank to, not government.
Banks owing them.
And they're
these are the
raking
same,
and
they are the same
declaring.
banks telling us, encouraging Nigerians to engage in that platform.
Of course.
Okay, FG bans cocaine gas export over rising prices. And the last newspaper I have now is The Guardian newspaper. Looking at The Guardian newspaper, lost billions. Why government youth empowerment efforts are failing. Nigeria, others may lose $10.5 trillion to cybercrime next year. Frequent grid collapse worsening business outlook. Page 5 of The Guardian newspaper has that story. FG ASU, can public universities afford another shutdown? With a big question mark to that particular statement. Page 4 of The Guardian newspaper has that story. Let me take one more story on the front page of The Guardian newspaper. It says, Disco's planned meter phase out may worsen Nigeria's 7 million gap as FCCPC intervenes. All right, Comrade AYODEJI, it's a convenient point for us to start running analysis on each of these stories. And let's see how much stories we can take at that time will be able to permit us on the program this morning. Let's start from Oyo State. Bill seeking creation of 2 states from Oyo State passes second reading in reps. Page 10 of the Nigerian Tribune is saying that. Now, creating 2 more states from the existing Oyo State, of what benefit will it be to the so-called new state? Because over the years we heard people clamoring for creation of new states, when even the states that are existing are finding it hard to take care of themselves.
You see, politicians of the Nigerian hue. But, you know, we've known them for quite a while. We know their antics. I always ask, in whose interest? You want to create a new Oyo? In whose interest? Will it guarantee?
They will say in the interest of the people.
There will be Oyo as the capital. Ogbomoso is there at the northern end. Then there will be, that will be the eastern flank. Ogbomoso is on the eastern flank. Then Okeogun on the northern flank. Okeogun, if not for, Lamadeshina opened up some roads. Alakala, Sadisolado didn't have much time to do that. Alakala did some bridges, connected some places. I think Ajimobi did his own bit. Of course, the current governor, Seyi Makinde, has done quite a lot in connecting the geopolitical zones. Look, it will not bring the needed development. That is not what will bring
then what's all the fuss about surrounding the creation of new state? There was a time that Ibadan State was trending. The clamor for Ibadan State was trending.
What does it require to get this process through? They know, as a student of history and political science, I know that it is not going to fly. It will never fly.
Why?
Because it requires a concurrence of 2/3 of the states in Nigeria. So where are they going to get the concurrence from? It is a political kite. This kite is being flown for political reasons.
In what sense?
Let me break it down. That guy has been in the House of Reps for 3 sessions.
Talking about the
guy
rep member that
I saw it.
sponsored
Somebody
the bill.
said yes.
That is a scheme.
Yes, he's been there for 3, and of course, that is the reality. And our people in their ignorance will be saying, aṣojú wa, ó ti ń gbé capital bọ̀, ó ti ń gbé ìpínlẹ̀ bọ̀ wá fún wa. In their abject ignorance, not understanding that the man is scheming his own political future. So maybe the next thing is that I want to go to the Senate, and they will say, padà sí House of Reps. They have a senator in that central district. The man is from Oyo town. The current senator.
Is that not Buhari?
No. He was a former commissioner. Gentleman like that. Is from Oyo. Of course, that will be the one that will provide the concurrence of the Senate.
Okay.
But it is being clearly initiated from the House of Reps. That is where it is being initiated.
Okay.
So, it is being initiated by scheming. And, politicians see things differently. They think differently. And they act. Well, if they are politicians are acting like this, you would think they are going that way. They are.
But looking at the creation of state, of what benefit will it be? That's my question now. Well, if peradventure this bill scales through, what are the benefits? Do we need more states in Nigeria at the moment? Are the existing states viable enough to take care of themselves?
It will not be opposed. Do you understand? Some will oppose it. Some who are going to be honest with themselves will oppose it. But most will say, let it pass. Shebi, we know that it will not pass through, the concurrence of 2/3 of the Nigerian state. Southeast has only 5 states. Nobody is patriotic enough that for equity's sake, Gowon was a very fair man. He created 12 states out of the 3 regions. In spite of the size of the North, in spite of the fact that he was a military leader and he was from the North, a balanced state, 6 from the South, 6 from the North. In spite of the fact that he wielded power under a military government, he balanced it. Those who worked with him kept saying that the man respected institutions. And politicians are coming, you want to create, then you now create another state, and then you create
now for some Nigerians now, out of ignorance, they are feeling that they need more states in that. What we need, what are the benefits?
They don't need food.
What are the benefits in creation of more states?
In Nigeria, none.
None,
absolutely none.
Why did you say so?
Look, how many of these states are viable? Are they, when they are paid the new minimum wage, how much do they have left? Apart from the dishonesty and the fraud in the processes of IGR, it is not transparent. Why must people be standing on the road and collecting 100 naira, 200 naira from transporters? That's not transparent now. Why don't you enumerate? You have the number of tricycles. You have the number of what do you call it, micra. You have the number of bikes. They have a card. There's a point, in the morning, in different locations. They will just go there and swipe their card, because the card is holding is specifically for bikes. It will only take the amount for bikes. If you are a micra, one day I see people have debit cards. Virtually everybody has a debit card. What you do to army, So somebody posted it, and was so. These things are not transparent because there are intentions, there are underlying factors, so that you cannot ask questions. And what kind of systems are we running?
Okay,
transparency.
All right, it's 10 minutes to 10 on Solutions 93.9 FM. It's still from the dailies, and we are looking at the major stories in today's. As put by the Nigerian Tribune, search was besieged by the operatives of the NDLEA, and some substances believed to be hard drugs were found in possession of some of his aides.
In his premises.
In his house. And that is where the battle line began. Let's take a listen at Senator Oyelola Ashiru on the floor of the Senate while he was appealing to the Senate to come to his aid.
On credible intelligence and surveillance which confirmed that the senator's house was being used as a drug joint for drug dealers and users February 4, 2024, during which the 2 aides were arrested while a third suspect escaped arrest. In another encounter with the senator, the agency also received intelligence that some of his boys, popularly known as Omo Senator, operating from his hometown, Offa, were equally dealing in illicit drugs. A raid was subsequently carried out on their joint in Offa, where one of them, Oluwatosin Odepidan, was arrested and illicit drugs such as methamphetamine and cannabis recovered from him. That was on June. Odepidan, including a visit to the Kwara State Command headquarters of the agency in Ilorin by the personal assistant to the senator, one Omoluabi, was rebuffed as Odepidan was promptly charged to court and prosecuted. Though the culprit jumped bail in 2023, he was rearrested warrant for his arrest. He was eventually convicted and sentenced in June 2024. That's this year.
That's the voice of Femi, Baba Femi, of the spokesperson of NDLEA. Now, what do you make out of this battle line being drawn, according to the Senate, Nigerian Senate?
Now, you saw that they read a prepared speech.
You read a prepared
text.
Yeah.
Is essentially seeking the protection of the Senate.
The Senate, yeah, obviously.
Okay, now, you are seeking the protection of the Senate for what? You have been accused in your personal capacity, not while on an official assignment or whatever. When Bukola Saraki was Senate President, number 3 citizen, when he was charged to CCB, he went as Bukola Saraki. He went and bore his cross. And this man is now saying, look, I listened to what the man said against, what do you call them? The Drug Enforcement
NDLEA.
When I would listen to what the man said, I said, why is this man saying, denounced and ran Drug Enforcement Agency down? This is a Drug Enforcement Agency that we know that since Buba Marwa took over there, had done a yeoman's job. And I have related with them quite closely, even at the state level. Look, that's one problem we have in this country. People dragging public, national, or public institutions. A distinguished senator of the Federal Republic dragging a national institution. And then the Senate president says,
injury to one. Battle line has been drawn. Injury to one. Injury to all.
What injury? Is the injury to the Senate?
Where substance is not found in his house.
Apparently. So he didn't deny that. He admitted that his house was raided because of drug. He has not said that his PA did not attempt to, and
his aides were caught with the substances.
He has not said
not even once.
He has not said there is not his hate. He has not denied that. He has not denied them.
So what is the battle line all about?
You see, our Senate president, I generally like the man, in his days as governor, uncommon governor and all of that. But now, he's at the federal level now. We have seen that his deployment of words. I think there's a challenge there.
So what injury? Injury to one. So if any senator is does anything wrong,
is he doing it in the name of Nigeria? I think. I think our public officers just think they are
untouchable.
They're untouchable. They're untouchable. They are above the law. In fact, they are above the law. That is it.
All right, so much from the Senate. Yesterday we said that Farouk Lawan too,
Mr. Integrity.
Mr. Integrity,
He was in the House of Reps.
Regained
He was
his
chairman House Committee on
Reps.
Yeah, Mr. Integrity. He was the chairman of the group that hounded Patricia Olufunke out of office as the speaker. The woman lasted from June 6 to October 30. They hounded the woman out of office.
And he made the statement, he said, what was the word he used? He said, life-changing experience, or kind of his experience in Kuje.
Yeah, you see, there's this committee I'm always referring to, Elumelu Committee. They were asked to probe this alleged, because I have to choose my words carefully, alleged $16 billion that the Obasanjo administration used for power. That committee had to be disbanded, and another committee was set up to go and probe a committee that was to probe corruption. We never heard anything from them. Mr. Integrity, they said there was calm. Otedola was alleged, amongst many others, to have collected $283 million to import products. He did not import products. He did not return the money. And I think he was approaching them. I think there are about 40-something names on the list. He was approaching, the big players. So
what role was Farouk in that panel?
He was the chairman of the ad hoc committee.
Wow, interesting.
Mr. Integrity. He was all over the place. So I notified he went to see Otedola. Of course, Otedola knew that he was guilty. You understand? He was guilty. So he just changed the game. Just changed the game.
So Femi Otedola played along then.
He played along.
And Farouk played into his net.
Of course he did. I mean, he
because there was a surveillance camera and he was caught.
Yes,
on tape.
Just like the Gandola issue. You saw the man stuffing money.
No, it was Babariga. It was Farouk that was stuffing dollars in his car.
And that is a man that was branded Mr. Integrity. If that is what Mr. Integrity looks like in Nigeria,
there are things money will make you do, actually.
No, I think it is people without values. If that is Mr. Integrity in Nigeria, what will Mr. Corruption look like?
That's $1 million question. All right, yesterday we were expecting the Supreme Court judgment concerning the suit filed by some state government or the state governors against the establishment and the constitutionality of the EFCC. But to my surprise, Supreme Court reserved the judgment.
It's a very deep issue.
Because I was excited, looking forward to what the outcome.
Maybe they've given the date.
Yeah, according to what I read yesterday, was that the Supreme Court said that the day for the judgment will be communicated to the players involved.
Wow, long. Let's wait. Let's be patient. But the issues are critical. If the Supreme Court says the law has not met the parameters, required to be a law, because the allegation is that it was just copied from the United Nations Charter on Anti-Corruption, that it will require domestication after being passed into law at the National Assembly, just like the FOI bill that was passed. That's one of the UN charters too, FOI bill. So it required domestication. So that's what they're asking of this one now. So why do which state went to court? Kogi?
And 3 states withdrew yesterday.
Which states?
Ebonyi, let me look at them. Ebonyi withdrew, Anambra and Madamawa.
Oh yeah, some other states just ran and joined, the thing. For me, in whose interest is this thing? The critical thing. If that law is nullified, it simply means every prosecution and every conviction,
every arrest,
every conviction, especially
ever done by ICPC and the EFCC, nullified.
And I'm aware that there are letters of the law, and then there is the spirit.
That means someone like Farouk Lawan can go back to court and sue EFCC for jailing him for 5 years.
Yeah.
I think it's a heavy issue before the judges.
It is. And I didn't get to see the names of the panel. You know, when you see the names of members of the panel, you can go and check their profiles, you know, where they have given judgments and judgments they have given in the past, and, you know, their leanings, their opinions on some issues. You can guess where they're going to lean.
All right, let's move into politics a bit. PDP crisis deepens as party INEC dragged to court over NEC meeting. I thought they said that everything had settled yesterday, but court cases are coming up again with the PDP.
Yeah, PDP is no doubt in crisis. And it is, well, I think it's a process.
The major problem with the PDP is Damagum should stay off that seat.
Are you sure that's where it ends?
I think that is the major bone of contention at the moment.
No. When Damagum goes, what next? Would that be would the departure of Damagum?
But when a large number of members of your party are saying they don't want you, is it not honorable to, at least for peace to reign? For peace to reign. I mean, in developed countries out there, you've seen people resign. Okay, I'm not doing again because people don't want to.
Mere allegation.
Or mere allegations, though. So why don't we have that playing out here in Africa?
I saw one man. He called the press conference. I think he was. I think the man was accused of, I think, some financial stuff. The man called the press conference, live press conference, and after addressing the conference, he had an envelope, large envelope, before he was by his side, and picked the envelope and pulled out the revolver and shot himself. You know, where people, but you see, I think we are at a location that we are gone down. Well, it's been a long journey. Oh. We didn't arrive at this location by sudden flight. I keep saying that. Look, in whose interest? There are elements that are fighting for the soul of that party. But are they fighting for the soul of the party?
At the expense of the prospect of the party in the elections.
When all you are doing is in pursuit of a personal agenda.
Ondo election, Guba election is just weeks away.
Ondo, I told you weeks ago that Ondo is a walkover. Ondo is a walkover.
For the incumbent.
It's a walkover. Okay, when did we hear them suddenly agree? Because they were going to Ondo and they wanted to present a seemingly united front.
Seemingly united.
And as soon as they departed from Ondo, they went back to their default location. Is there a party? And it's people are just thinking of themselves.
Because Oyinlola's faction saying PDP crisis, we have reconciled feuding NWC members, according to Olagunso Oyinlola.
Oyinlola is chairman of
He's the chairman of the Reconciliation Committee, yes.
Oyinlola.
But after this statement that was made yesterday, court cases are coming up again in the same party.
In the days of action, what do they call that party? UPN, MPN. How many cases did you hear in court? In the days of SDP and RC, how many cases? You will take your party to court. You will immediately be dismissed from the party before sunset the following day. You will be immediately dismissed.
So what changed from then till now?
Because we no longer had parties. We only had individuals congregating and using the platform to gain power. And when those individuals, if there are 10 of them, and if there is a convergence or a concurrence among 6 or 7, or even just one of them is powerful enough to overpower the remaining 9, that's he gets the power. And poverty has driven us. And then the lack of political education. People lack socialization. I engage people, you understand? I trigger them and I just listen to them. People talk from a place of ignorance. crass ignorance. But it is not the role of the downtrodden to lead society. That is why we have the elite. What are the elites? These are the elites. Oh. These are the elites that are supposed to provide leadership. I was asking one Baba, I said, what is the elite consensus in Nigeria? Every society, there's an elite, and there's always an elite consensus. He said the elite consensus in Nigeria is state capture. And the Nigerian state has been captured and appropriated by the elite.
Which is the truth.
Ah.
The bitter truth. Okay, let's talk about another issue now. Unending grid collapses threaten survival of businesses, organized private sector. And they are calling for full privatization of power sector.
Sometimes Yoruba say, when the Honorable Minister of Power came into office, and the man was talking about national grid, he was talking about we're generating 10,000, we're generating 20,000. I said, is that the issue? Okay, the president that appointed him, did he give him a mandate? Or just say, which ministry? Okay, you go there. You don't understand? There must be a mandate. What kind of governance are we doing? I appoint you commissioner, and then you just go there and do what you like. You understand? There must be a mandate. It is on record that the man that was not cleared by the Senate, El-Rufai, that he was supposed to be the Honorable Minister of Power, and that he had been given that mandate some 6-8 weeks before, they were nominated. And he had drawn up a 7-year plan to get Nigeria out of this cul-de-sac. Those are the people that know what they're going for. But of course, they were not political players. They thought the man was dangerous. They thought the man was dangerous. And if he performed, he was going to be the next president. Now, in whose interest was the decision to produce a security report to nail the man? They quickly produced a security report and nailed the man.
It was nailed.
They nailed the man. So, even the president, in whose interest was he thinking? If that man had been the minister with a plan, and an El-Rufai, he will step on people's heads, he will step on their legs, he will jump on
not just on their toes.
He will step on their heads, he will march over their bodies to go. Shebi, you forgot.
What did he in as FCT minister?
FCT. You forgot what he did.
I remember vividly.
So, and this president said they persuaded him to ditch a man that always worked purposefully. What was the problem with Abuja? I remember one particular hospital they were going to demolish. People had to go to Obasanjo and say, see, don't let El-Rufai demolish this hospital. Obasanjo went there in an unmarked vehicle. I can't forget, it was using a walking stick that morning. Obasanjo went there personally and asked that he wanted to see the CMD. They said the man was in surgery. Obasanjo sat there for 2.5 hours. I said, don't disrupt him. Let him get his job done. Obasanjo sat there for 2.5 hours. And Obasanjo said, when the man came out, it's a CMD. This building will go down because we have approval, we have this. This building will go down. It will not be spared because it has violated Abuja Master Plan. Purposeful people in the interest of the people. Some of these things cannot take it away from Obasanjo. Call him any name you wish to call him. That is leadership. And these people, they say leader. Everybody is a leader now. You are not familiar with that.
What are the viable things to do, at least to avoid this?
One of the few legacies that Buhari left for us, 2023 Electricity Act. Electricity had been on the exclusive list. Of course, you recall that what terrible thing the military did to Nigeria was that they thought they could decree unity. So they nationalized everything, centralized everything. But thankfully, Buhari saw the need for that, and then they put power on concurrent list. Therefore, states, investors, if you see viability, go there, provide the enabling environment. If you want to partner with them, work it out. Have you forgotten that Tinubu wanted to do that in Lagos? He was frustrated. Have you forgotten? Aaron. He was frustrated. They said whatever power he had to do, he had to put it on the national grid. We have one national grid, 1 million square kilometers of Nigeria. If you're generating power, and our what do you call this thing? I've been to some of these generating plants. I've been to Kainji. I've been to Shiroro. I've been to the one in Lagos. Some of them are working at less than half installed capacity. But let us follow through. Let us follow through with the decentralization. Even that single radial transmission that we do. Can we do something with that? No backup. So if there is a cut somewhere, that's the end. Our national grid, what is the capacity? Even our generating capacity has outstripped the wheeling capacity of our national grid. It is old, it is weak, and you see, the problem is that we have no backup, and apart from that, we stopped planning. How long ago were these things put in place? More than 25, 30 years ago. That's when they were put in place. Way more than that. Did we expand? Did we do any renewal? No, we never did. We stopped planning in the days of Gowan. That was planning. They stuck to the plans. They left the bureaucrats to run it. You come with the idea, you throw it to the bureaucrats. It was the bureaucrats that held the pillar. But when Murtala came and they fired the bureaucrats, I will never forget. One of my father's very bosom friends, he was fired. He was on his way. He was on his way home in Agodi GRA in his official car. You know, you put on your radio, Pigeon 5. I think that was what they heard, Pigeon 504. It was in his car that he heard that he has been fired. He had known no other life. He had lived in government house. I don't know how the man survived it. My father gathered us. My father gathered us and told us that anything can happen. No? As young as well. So, there must be planning. But let's not deceive ourselves. Let us not deceive ourselves. Nobody's going to be paying 68 naira per kilowatt per hour. The average cost of power per hour is 500 naira. Go and find out. Maybe in Nigeria, because of population, because of it can come down. Even now, as we speak, there's the rural electrification board that is supplying power to people that are not paying. There's supplying people power, and they say they will pay. Do they pay? The military does not pay. Government agencies, they do not pay. Federal secretariat, they will not pay. Now, Army barracks, will you go there and disconnect that?
Looking at the sectors that are so important to the growth of any economy of any nation. I mean, power is there, the oil is there. These are the two critical sectors that are going down the drain in the country as we speak.
It has been a journey.
Is there nothing the government can do to serve it, at least to put an end to this years of going around in circles?
You see, when people come into office, they're thinking of re-election. And then issues that are supposed to tackle, volatile issues, they will defy it until second time.
Probably that will buttress what General Obasanjo is saying there. He says, Nigeria's disappointed Africa black race. And let me read the first paragraph. The former president of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, on Tuesday said Nigeria has disappointed the black race and Africa, in particular due to a lack of good leadership.
I want to say this morning. It is nothing else but not Obasanjo is not a perfect man. Far, far away from a perfect man. He has his own weaknesses and all of that. I remember one man was telling me that he was with Obasanjo with some colleagues, and he said, when they are counting Yoruba leaders, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he said he knows that he will not be among the top 5.
Was it Obasanjo that said that?
Yeah, he said that to them. That when they are counting Yoruba leaders, when they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he knows that he will not be amongst the top 5. Say, but when they want to count Nigerian leaders, he knew that they will not count 2 or 3 before
it gets to his turn.
Yes. So, with benefit of hindsight, which is not always good, that third term thing, if Obasanjo had gotten that third term, Obasanjo would have railroad. This are not sounding democracy. You see, this is what we call democracy. He is not going to take us far. We need a benevolent leader. You know, Obasanjo will have railroaded, you know, his way through some reforms. You know, the man was always railroading, and will have ensured, but we left too many things late. You see, we came from an era of oil boom. State was paying for everything. Everything was subsidy. Nigerians were not aware that things were being subsidized. We were not being subsidized before. But when the devaluation started and it progressed, the burden of subsidy, there was no subsidy originally because the exchange rate of the dollar to the naira was 60 kobo to 67 kobo to the US dollar. So there was no subsidy. But when devaluation set in, we had enough, you know, to cushion. But the last straw, Obasanjo started sovereign wealth fund and all of that, and they could not look the man in the eye. You understand? That was when he was doing reserves and all of that. But they saw Jonathan that Jonathan cannot do anything. They just went to call and say, what money are you saving? So instead of drawing from reserves to pay for subsidy, we were now using what was coming in. You understand? What was coming in instead of taking from our reserves. We are now using what was coming in to pay. And of course, you know that will be a problem. Before, we were taking from our reserves. Then the governor said, let's share the money. It must be put. Is there any money that goes? They went to the Supreme Court. Any money that comes into the federal pocket must be put in the Federation account.
General Obasanjo said here that Nigeria was known to be the giant of Africa many years back.
We were not just the giant of Africa.
But due to bad leadership, we have lost that title today.
Of course we have lost it. It was not just the giant of Africa. In 1975, they were going to hold an OAU special conference in Addis Ababa. Nigeria had sent Joseph Jogaba, you know, foreigner, full of life, smart, sharp foreign affairs minister. And of course, that time, it was the National International Institute for International Affairs that was in charge. And these were 35, 32-year-old guys, you know, bubbling with energy, and they were the backbone of Nigeria's foreign policy. They went to Murtala Muhammad. They said, no, you have to go. And the man said, eh. And the man went to Addis Ababa. He just flew into Addis Ababa. It was the decision about Angola, Savimbi, and what's the other man, Augustino Neto. And the man read one fiery state speech.
Yeah.
And I will never forget one part of that speech that said, Africa has come of age, and Africa is no longer something to these so-called powers. And he instructed practically African leaders to support Augustino Neto. And the man, after the speech, departed Addis Ababa. Of course they complied. Of course they complied.
That was where the giant of Africa.
Yes, because
commanded so much respect.
This is the man that was speaking, because they knew he was providing leadership by example at home, because they had their embassies and diplomatic missions there, and they knew what was happening, that the man was leading by example. So he went there and addressed them and left the place, and they supported Augustino Neto. That was how and Obasanjo continued.
And one of the things Obasanjo said here is that most of the leadership we have in these days are after their personal gains, without the interest of the nation at heart.
When Nelson Mandela was released, of course, Nigeria was his second port of call. He went to Lagos. All the awards Nigeria has taken on his behalf. Babangida was the president then. But he came to Obasanjo in Ota. I worked with General Obasanjo there. The elite of the Nigeria, it was the government that hosted him in Lagos. Who is who in Nigeria? They were in Ota. The government establishment, this and that. They were the ones that hosted him in National Theatre. Who is who in Nigeria were the ones that were in Ota. I was there. I was a protocol officer. So, Obasanjo's stature, he has earned it. You can't take it away from him. Up till tomorrow, Obasanjo has a suit allocated to him in the headquarters of the United Nations, and he has been in that place since probably 1989 or thereabout, or 87. Allocated to him. And you see that even at his age, he's still running around the world. They're still calling on him. He has value. Obasanjo. When what was that woman's name? I think it was Margaret Thatcher. I can't remember. Obasanjo went to him as military head of state in number 10 down and told the woman, I said, see, you will be swept away by the tide of history if you do not support freedom for Southern African countries. And Obasanjo came back and nationalized Shell BP and all that company. And when Obasanjo said he was going to be United Nations General Secretary, for where?
No way for
where? So let's not look. We are Yorubas. Where's thank God that we see Obasanjo?
Now, as we wrap up now, are we not having leaders with the national interest at heart anymore?
Look, we do not. Don't couch it in national interest. We do not have leaders.
Using this particular administration as an example now, the president came out and said, Nigerians, we understand what you're going through. We understand the hardship. We understand Nigerians. Listen to him. But in the midst of all this, too, you hear huge amount of money being paid to members of the national political office holders, spending millions of naira on SUVs,
living luxurious life
in the midst of hardship, and the president is telling Nigerians to endure the hardship.
And you are the representatives of the people.
So how do we relate the two together? How do Nigerians relate the two? If we are suffering, let us all suffer together. Let us know that we are all in this together.
When Murtala Mohammed, leadership-wise,
as we wrap up,
yes. When Murtala Mohammed came into office, during the Civil War, he was accused of, boggling the central bank in Benin. When he came into office, he declared all his properties and gave it away. They said he had a street full of houses in Lagos, in Kano. People knew what he had, you understand? So if you are going to, he told them before they made him military. Don't hold my hand, though. I'm going to rule in the best interest of Nigeria. And you don't hold my hand. They say you have. Of course, Danjumas of this world told him that. Danjuma too is a tough guy.
He's a tough guy, and he's still a tough guy too.
Still a tough guy. So the man declared his properties publicly. The man had no escort. He rode in lonely one car. He did not even move to Dodam Barracks. The man was killed in front of a traffic light close to the Federal Secretariat. He was coming from what they call Defense House now.
That's Murtala Mohammed.
He He had only his ADC, orderly, and driver
And the
with
driver.
him. The car did not even have air conditioning. He was stopping, Nigerian commissioner or governor stopping for traffic light. Military head of state.
That was when we had disciplined
Military head of
individuals
state.
in the post of leadership.
Stopping for traffic light in Ikoyi, very close to the federal secretariat.
Even ordinary local government commissioners don't even stop for traffic lights these days.
I see law enforcement agencies breaching traffic lights. We don't enter.
When a whole military head of state stopped at a traffic light,
President.
a president, military head of
Military
state,
head of state. So, lawmakers and law enforcers, they put on their siren when they get to a traffic light and breach it. I say, hey, this one where we don't enter. It's in our head, though. This one, it is in our head. That's the location of the problem.
Okay, trying to look at the comments here. There was a particular issue I spoke about, that is Nigeria still borrowing amid high debt cost, IMF, and somebody is saying that Olaoluwa Ekundayo, IMF and Nigeria, a no retreat, no surrender scenario. I think Tinubu and his team are trying, but to me, seeking alliance with the West should be jettisoned. Everybody should go back to the farm. I mean, he's trying to say that Nigerians shouldn't follow the dictates of the IMF and the World Bank, that most of their dictates, or maybe that their postulates.
Why are they not suggesting that we should cultivate the land? Is that part of the IMF program for
That's
us?
what the Ekunda is saying, that Nigerians should jettison all this IMF, World Bank
where does the
postulates,
future lie?
and we should go back to the farm.
To,
as simple as that.
Did you hear that from IMF? Monetary and financial manipulations and shenanigans. That's what we have.
Now I see why Fela never liked those institutions.
Why were they set up? That's the problem. The origin of those institutions, we should understand.
All right, comrade, our time is fast spent. So thank you very much. I wish we could continue a little longer, but that's the much we can do for today. We'll be back again tomorrow morning for a fresh edition. Thank you very much, comrade AYODEJI AJISOPE. Wishing you a very pleasant day.
Thank you. My pleasure always.
All right, my name is ADEDAMOLA LAFENWA. Catch us again tomorrow morning, 9:30 on Solutions 93.9 FM. Wishing you a winning Wednesday. Good morning once again.
Here we come again in another style. AJISOPE is a rat race style. Here we come again, it is not just another song.